How's it going, everybody? It's been a while. Hope everybody had a good Christmas and New Year's, all that stuff. I haven't been on here for like 3 weeks. I ended up getting sick the Wednesday before Christmas, and it's just an ongoing thing. But it's good to be back. Hello, Crit, Jersey. Oh, thanks, Crit. Yeah, it's just trying to get all the crap out, all the congestion out. But yeah, so it's good to be back. In case you can't tell by the title and description stuff, we're going to be doing. I'm going to teach you guys how to play the one of the first songs that I learned how to play. Well, it's like the first song that I actually gave a crap about. Like when I first started, I was like being forced to play a bunch of stuff that I didn't want to play because I was 12 years old and I had very, very much tunnel vision when it came to music. So so when my guitar teacher had me play this song, I mean, it wasn't like I was all jumping up and down. I mean, at that point in time in my life, like I wanted to play like Motley Crue and stuff like that. Anyway, this is Summer of '69 by Bryan Adams, and it's like a really cool song, and it's really held up. It's still like a good catchy song today, and it's a real good one just for general practice because of the different things that are being done with the chords in it. We've got like some different strumming and then some, where we're going to be arpeggiating the chords. So there's a lot of cool parts to it. It's a pretty cool song. So there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. So give everybody an opportunity to do that, and we can get started. Now the problem I have is if I talk for a long time, my voice will actually start crapping out. So I'll try to keep going with this as long as I can. So do we have anybody new here tonight? I can see that it got, Jersey and Crit, my regulars. And if you're watching this and you are, you like it, you like this kind of stuff, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. It really helps for me to be able to continue to do this. All right, so the song what I've done is I've divided it into all of the different parts, and then some of the parts obviously will be just repetition, but we'll talk about that when we get into it. Ken, me too. I mean, at the time, I just heard like what they played on the radio, like this song and different stuff. And then I went back and I actually learned, like Run to You and a bunch of the different stuff. And there's actually a lot of really cool guitar stuff. All right. So first thing we're going to look at is just the intro, and the intro is actually just this, like the same thing as the verse. It's like part of the verse. So we're going to start off. We're just going to use a regular old D major chord, just the open position D major chord that you probably already know, and an A. Now, if you've seen any of my videos or anything in the past, I've talked lots of times about doing this A chord. Now, traditionally, you see it written to be played like this or like this, but I'm always saying, just use the single finger. So with this, I won't. There'll be part of this where I'm not playing it that way, where I will play it with this other way, and I'll explain why when we get there. and I'm sure there's people who play just with a single finger that can do this without having to do what I'll be showing you here in a bit. But for me, it's easier to work, and if you're a beginner, it'll be much easier that way as well. All right, so we've got the so for the intro and the verse, all we're going to be playing is just D and A. All right, so we're start off here with this D, and this whole thing is it's eighth notes, but we've got some accents in there and some palm muting. That's what kind of it's going to give it its dynamic and like its feel. So start off with this D, and we're going to start off here with strumming on the downbeat of 1, and we want to put some emphasis on that. And then we're going to pedal just the open D string on the and of 1 and the downbeat of 2, but we're going to palm mute that. So we've got 1 and 2, and then on the and of 2, we hit the full chord again, and we also accent it. So that's the first 2 beats. 1 and 2 and then starting on beat 3, we're just going to pedal. We're just going to play just the D string and the G string. You're just going to keep your fingers on for the shape of this chord. So the D string's already open, and you're already on the second fret of the G string. And we're going to just play that as eighth notes. And so that's going to be starting on beat 3. So 3 and 4 and. So that's the first measure. And then on the second measure, we just continue to do that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then on the and of 4, we hit the open A string. And that's not palm muted. So just in those 2 measures right there, you can see what I was talking about, that there's a lot of stuff with dynamics going on in this, and we're not even, a fourth of the way through it yet. All right. So okay. Now starting on the third measure, on your transcription, it says that that's where the verse starts. So it's just basically going to repeat that exact same thing that we just did with D, but this is where the vocals would start. So you have the intro. I got my first real 6 string. And then at the end of measure 4, on the end of 4, the open A. And now we're going to switch to A. So for this part of the song, I'm just going to use my one finger, because all we're really picking up is just the second fret of the B string and the G string. So it's really more like an A5. But if you do pick up that C sharp there on the B string, it still sounds good. So for this, we're going to do the exact same rhythm and strumming that we did for D. The only thing that will be different is on the second measure on the and of 4. Instead of just hitting the open A string, we're going to still hit the A5 chord palm muted. So it'll be like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So starting on the verse, so on measure 3. Oh, I did the intro too, my bad. Back to D, same thing. Eighth, same thing. So that is the whole verse, and then it just repeats. So this verse, we're going to do the same verse throughout the song, but there's just some subtle changes. So one of the things that they'll change in some of the later verses, well, actually, when this repeats, we got the my first real 6 string. Until my fingers red, 'twas the summer of '69. Now it goes back into that again, but a second guitar comes in. One's still doing this, but another one comes in that just plays so that it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you were going to play the song like by yourself, like, you know, just like with your acoustic guitar, just to kind of give it some variant, so it's just not the same thing over and over again. That's actually what I would do. I'd play the first part of it like that, and then the second time through, I might do something like, just to kind of, you know, fill it out. You know, when you're playing by yourself, you got to be the head cook and bottle washer, so you kind of got to cover all the bases. Yeah, Jersey. On so like on D, you're already playing the second fret of the G string. So when we're just doing that pedal, you don't need to do anything here other than just try to just only play the D and the G string, and you want to palm mute that. And you'll just see places where the muting comes in and then it goes out and then it comes in. It's got a really, you know, really good dynamic to this progression. All right, so that that takes care of the intro and the verse, and it's like I said, there's a couple, 2 or 3 different verses throughout the song, but it's just going to come back to that same chord progression. So before I move along, does anybody have any questions about what we've gone over thus far? Or just guitar related questions in general? As usual, this is like I try to answer your questions the best that I can. Anyway, Jersey, does that answer your question? Okay, great. All right, well, we can move along. All right, so the next part we're going to look at is the bridge. So for the bridge, it's got the D and it's got the A that we did, but we're also going to do G and a B minor. So if you hate the dreaded bar chord, this might be kind of tough, and there really isn't really much of an alternative way that you can do this chord. I guess if you're really having trouble with barring, just remove the bar and play just the other three, the notes that your other fingers will be playing. So I'm on the 3rd fret of the B string with my 2nd finger, and the 4th fret of the D string with my 3rd finger, and the 4th fret of the G string with my 4th finger. And then if you're having trouble with doing that bar, just bring your finger up and pick up the 2nd fret of the high E string. And then when you strum, start on the D string. So you're still getting those notes, but since the bass note's not B, it does make it sound a little bit different, but it's kind of a way you could get by. So we've got the B minor, A, D, and then G. Okay, so for the rhythm for this part, and well, first is just look at it the way we have it on here. We've just got 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and so we have a quarter note, and then the rest are 8th notes. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and to A, same thing. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and D. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and then G. So in the context of you're playing with a band, that really works. And even playing by yourself, it technically works, but you can kind of fill it out more for that solo performance by instead of you could 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, 4, down, down, up, down. Just do that on each chord. That repeats. And then B minor. So that very last A there on measure 16 is just a whole note because that's the those the best days my life. I can't remember the vocal melody, but that rings out, and then that's where it goes into the like really the really recognizable part that everybody probably kind of knows the song from. That's a very recognizable riff. All right. So again, down, down, up, down. It's like 1, 2, and 3, 4. All right, so that is the bridge section. It's pretty easy, other than if you're a beginner, bar chords can be a challenge. Um, B minor is probably one of the easier bar chords, though. Um, that shape, it's a lot easier to really get a lot of leverage to do that particular shape. So if you are a beginner and bar chords are like really a new thing for you, they are movable. So this is B minor because this is a B. So if I take that same shape and I moved it up to here, since this is an E, it's E minor. So further up the fretboard, it's a little bit easier to do bar chords when you're a beginner because the frets are a little closer together and your arm's not out at some weird angle. Now, same idea. If you go up too high, now the frets are really close together, and again, you got this kind of a cramping thing going on. So if this is new to you, I would recommend barring it on the 7th or the 9th fret at first, and then working your way down, and then it'll make it easier to play down here. All right. So does anybody have any questions about the bridge, or just general questions? All right, well, we can move along then. So this next section, section D, it's the interlude, but it's also the chorus. They just do the same thing for both parts. So like I said, this is kind of the ear candy part of the song. I remember when my guitar teacher said, "Okay, we're going to do this song," and he put it on during the lesson and started playing along with it. I wasn't really super excited about. I mean, it was better than what I had been playing, or at least I thought so back then. But it wasn't until it got to this part, and that was when I really noticed it. Like, oh, that sounds really cool, and was to learn this. So this is kind of an exercise within itself on suspended chords. So if you do not know your your suspended chords, we're going to do a real quick crash course on it here. I'm not going to get too far into the theory part of it, but we look at with D. This is D major, right? If we take our middle finger off so that high E string is open, that is that makes it D suspended too. Um, as far as fixing the hole on the strap, I mean, you could try like stitching it to make it smaller, but what you really should do is get some strap locks. Um, the strap button that's on the guitar, when you put the strap on there, when you put it on the very first time, it fits tight. Every time you take it off, it gets looser until you're in the situation that you're in right now. Um, you really should invest in some strap locks. You can get a set. You don't have to buy like an expensive name brand. At Guitar Center, you can get. Um, I think the brand's called Proline, and it's a copy of the Shaler style strap locks. And here, I'll just grab one and show you. Okay, so when you buy strap locks, you're going to get two things. You're going to get these two things here, and then you're going to get new strap buttons, the little part on the guitar that the strap goes to. So you just take the Phillips screw out that's holding the old ones in and put the new ones on. And then this thing here, I ain't going to take this apart because they're kind of a bugger to get back together. But anyway, basically what it is that underneath this pin, it's threaded, and you can just see this just got like a regular nut on it. So you slide that through the hole, put the washer on, put the nut on, and tighten it down. So now what happens, here's the strap button on my guitar. Now when I take this, I loop it around it, and now it's locked. It cannot come off until I pull out on this pin. So if you have these, you're not going to drop your guitar. And dropping your guitar is like a real thing. Never dropped my own guitar like that, but I went to this this gig one time, and the band that was playing, the guitar player asked me if I'd get up and play a song with them, and I'm like, yeah, sure, And anyway, he's got like this really old, like 60 something Fender Stratocaster with a leather strap that was probably just as old, and I put it around my neck, and I start playing, and the guitar all of a sudden just falls. And anyhow, I like grabbed it and kept it from hitting the ground. The strap completely came off. And this was an old guy that like had been playing forever. And I'm like, dude, you should put some strap locks on there. And he's like, what are strap locks? He didn't even know. And anyhow, a really nice guitar almost got completely killed from almost dropping it. So yeah, I really recommend that you get strap locks. Yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of a pain in the butt to put them on at first and everything, but it's like the best insurance you can ever get for your guitar. Yeah, definitely, Jersey. You know, uh, get you some. It really makes a big difference. Uh, okay, yeah. So back to this. So if we've got yeah, when you just have to. There's a on this part here on the strap. It's got this little pin, and I don't know if how well you can see it. You can see that black pin inside of there. That's when you slide this over the strap button. That little pin goes in the center of it, holds it in place. So if you pull back on this part, it pulls that black pin down on the inside, then it just slides off. So I mean, it doesn't. There's no Doesn't require like any strength or anything to do it. The worst part is just getting it put on in the first place. Getting it put on the strap is a pain in the butt. Uh, if you bring your strap with you, or if you bought a new strap while you're there with the strap locks, you could probably get them to put it on for you. Okay, so yeah, so we've got our regular, just our regular old D chord, right? Now, if we take our middle finger off so that the high E string is open, that's D suspended 2. And then if you put your pinky down so it's picking up the 3rd fret of the G string, that's D suspended 4. So this is a really common, there's like a million songs, Stairway to Heaven, Free Fallin'. I mean, it's really, really common. There's like a million songs that do that. So what he's doing on this is he's doing this just a little kind of arpeggiated thing with that. So if you start off with your fingers down for D, lift your middle finger off because it starts on D suspended 2. And then again, we're 8th notes. So we're going to start on the E string, go E, B, G. So it's like 1 and 2. Then on the and to 2, we're going to put our middle finger down onto the 2nd fret. So now we have just regular D, and we're going to do the same thing, E, B, G. Then we're going to put our pinky down onto the 3rd fret. So it's D suspended 4. So we've got now, what's kind of weird is that when we hit that G string there the 3rd time there on D suspended 4, it's actually on the downbeat of 1 of the 2nd measure. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then on the and of 1, we're going to take our pinky back to D. Same thing, E, B, G. And now we're going to take our middle finger off, and we're going to go E, G, and then put our middle finger back on. So it's like D again, but that's just on the very last of it. So that is the first 2 measures. Now, when we hit that last high E string there, that's actually a quarter note. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's a quarter note. All right, so that's like half of it. Now for the second half of it, we're going to do A suspended 2, A, and A suspended 4. So with this, it's a little bit, doing it with the one finger method is harder. Well, at least it is for me. Like I said, there could be some people, I'm sure there's people who can do it this way, but it's easier for me just to go back to the old way of playing A. Or you could do it this way, like, and stretch your pinky out like that. Whichever way is easier for you. I just kind of find it easier to do it this way. So when we're going to change the A into A suspended 2 into A suspended 4, we're going to do kind of the same idea. So to make A, we're on the 2nd fret of the D, G, and the B string. So that B string, if we're on the 2nd fret, it's A. But if the string is open, it's A suspended 2. And if we're on to the 3rd fret of the B string, it's A suspended 4. Oh, hi, Rick. Shoulder surgery. Did you get your rotator cuff reason I'm asking is because I'm supposed to get, I can't remember what they called it. They said that they said that they said that they go in and look around with like a camera or something and then scrape calcium deposits off or something like that. Uh, the recovery time was so long, I'd be home. I wouldn't be able to play guitar. I think I'd be homeless before I ever recovered. So I'm putting it off until the bitter end. Anyway, sorry to hear that. That's a bummer. Yeah, my right arm, my rotator cuff, and I have cubital tunnel syndrome in my elbow. They want to operate on both of them, and it'd be like a year that I wouldn't be able to use my arm, and that's not gonna work for me. Okay, so let's see. Oh, so A suspended 2. So starting on that third measure of the interlude slash yeah, that was, I don't remember them saying anything about bone spurs there. I've got a bone spur on my foot, but they've said it was something about that they have to like scrape something out. I don't know anything about it. Ooh, you tore your bicep tendon? Ow. I'm sorry, Jersey. That sucks. Problem is we're all getting old and we're just wearing out. If I was a horse, that they'd have put me out to pasture a long time ago. All right. So with A, so how I'm going to do it is I'm going to use my first finger to play the second fret of the D string, and my second finger to play the second fret of the G string, and my third finger to play the B string second fret. So with this, we start off with A suspended 2. So we're going to have the B string open, and now we're going to do more or less the same picking that we did, same timing, except instead of being E, B, G, now it's going to be B, G, D. So 1 and 2. So B, G, D. Then to A. So I just put my my third finger down there on the second fret of the B string. Same picking. And then for A suspended 4, I'm going to put my pinky down here onto the fourth fret of the B string. So, and then take it back off to do A. Take your third finger off for A suspended 2, and just like what we did on D, we're going to go B, D, and then put our finger back down. And that'll be a quarter note. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And then it just repeats. So. Now that's the little interlude thing there. Like see, on the first they go through that bridge, the best days of mine. And on the first time when it does the interlude, I don't think it repeats. I think it just does it the one time, and then it goes into another verse. So with that, you could just still do the same, or you could maybe now. The times are changing. Job to do. If you're playing it by yourself, just to kind of fill it out and make it better. Playing that part is addictive. The interlude, yeah, it's total guitar cane. It's super addictive. I love stuff like that. Those little melody things with the suspended chords are total ear candy. Everybody, I mean, that's why those all those riffs are ones that when you hear them, you know what it is right away. You hear that, you hear, 2 seconds of free fall, and you know exactly what song that is because of uh, that thing. Oh my gosh, it's just from picking up your dog. Holy crap! Yeah, it sucks. It's like uh, I seen a meme a while ago, and I can't remember exactly what it said word verbatim, but um, it said 10-year-old me uh, crashes on bicycle with no helmet on, gets up and walks away from it. 50-year-old me sleeps with the wrong pillow, can't get out of bed for 3 days. I mean that it's the truth. She heard it tear from 10 feet away. That's kind of crazy and a little bit gross. Okay. Yeah. So that interlude chorus part, if if you're a beginner or you've never really done that sort of thing, it might be tough. It wasn't like my guitar teacher showed me and I could just play it right away. It wasn't. Nothing was ever like that. I've never had a student that was as slow as a learner as I was ever. Um, but this song was it's kind of a milestone for me in a way because up to this point, all the stuff I'd been doing, even though it was, looking back now, it was nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't what I was interested in. And so I never really felt like I was really playing guitar until I learned this song. And then I was like, oh, wow, I'm really playing something that I recognize it and I know what it is and I can play along with the radio with it. And it was, it was just really kind of cool. But if you are a beginner with this would be my recommendation with it is just to work on doing it with D and then work on doing it with A. So when we're going to work on it with D, you could even start out as simple as just doing you know the D suspended 2, so the strings open, and then put it down for D and just then you can do that, then add your pinky in and just work that, making sure that you can hear, the strings are ringing clear and that you're not muting them, by touching them, like your third finger isn't like, touching the G string and, causing an issue, anything like that. And then just do the same thing with A. And, Rome wasn't built in a day. So, I mean, it isn't, I remember when we did this for a lesson, we probably worked on this song for better than a month. Uh, Now, like I said, I've never had anybody as slow as me, so I do, I doubt it's going to take anybody as long as it did me to get it down. But yeah, so that's like I said, that's the interlude, but it's also the chorus. So um, when it actually gets in the summer of '69, they're doing that part too. All right, so does anybody have any questions about that part of it? That's probably the most complicated part of the song. What we're going to be going over is that part, but it sounds really good. I think, and we're doing a little bit better on time than I thought. So just real quick, just you know, knowledge is power. Just to kind of go over like what why it's a suspended chord, what that means. Um, so when you play a major chord, there's only three notes. So it's got the first, third, and fifth note of the major scale. Now, you don't need to know the major scale. You don't need to know any of that stuff for this to be able to understand it. So in the case of a D, the third note is an F sharp. So that's what the second fret here on the high E string is. Now, when we do D suspended 2, when we lift that finger off, we're flattening 3 a whole step. And there's a whole step between the second and third note of the major scale. So that's why they call it D suspended 2, because the suspended means we're removing the third and we're replacing it with whatever number it says. So for D suspended 4, we're replacing the third with the 4. Now, the reason here we don't go up a whole step is because in the scale between notes 3 and 4, there's only a half step. I know this is like a real vague kind of, Reader's Digest version of that. And that's something, I mean, I could spend a whole hour just talking about the theory about that. And if there was enough interest in it, I'd be totally down for doing it. But it just kind of seems, for the most part, once I start really talking about a lot of theory, that's when a lot of people just start, not interested or whatever. Yeah, Jersey music theory is great. It's a great tool. But there's so many resources for it out there. I mean, there's probably a million videos on the internet, on YouTube. They're just about music theory. But music theory is like math. It can become extremely complicated. So like, well, let's like look at math. So if your goal was you wanted to become like an engineer, a physicist, or some thing like that, you would need to have like a bunch of real hardcore brainiac math to be able to do that. But if you don't do that, let's just say that you work. Hello, Dean. No, you're not too dumb for music theory. It's so much. Everybody thinks that it's complicated, but it's really not. It's uh, well, I always tell my students, if you know the alphabet to G and you can count to 12, music theory isn't really that hard. But that's basic music theory. It's like basic math. So let me get back to what I was saying. So, you would need you might need to be able to do calculus and all this stuff like that if you were like an engineer or a physicist or whatever, kind of, thing like that. But let's just say you are you're a barista, or you work at a bakery, or just whatever, just like something that's not a super specialized job. Or maybe you don't even work. Maybe you know you're retired, or you got a sugar mom or a sugar daddy that's taking care of you, whatever. I don't know I don't know, I'm not there. But you can, with math, you don't need, if you're going to go grocery shopping and you've got $100, you want to be able to have enough math skill to keep track of what you're putting in your cart. So when you get up to pay for it, you don't have more than $100 worth of stuff. So that's kind of basic math. So it's kind of the same thing with music theory. You have basic music theory that just kind of shows you, how things work like that, but they can also get like really super, super advanced. And it may not be necessary for all that for your goals, but just basic music theory, I believe, is really important. And I think it's a thing that everybody really should learn. And it's just it's not as complicated as everybody thinks. Yeah, you don't understand chords are formed. They're root. Okay, so the root note is the note the chord gets its name from. So if you're making a C chord, the root note is C. If you were making a G chord, the root note would be G. And that's also 1. So then you just count up from the alphabet there to find 3 and 5. If there's enough interest, I mean, what would you guys think? Well, actually, I already did that. Now that I think about it, I think about a year ago, I think the first 4 live streams I did were called boring music theory that that everybody should know, where I went over all of this. I was just going to say I could do that, but I've already done it. So yeah, just like, look through the through the channel, and find those. I mean, I went over, I mean, it's not the advanced stuff, it's just the basic stuff, like I said, that I really feel that everybody should know how to do. Uh, I see someone play it or I hear it, I can play it, but can't read music. Um, okay, reading music and like the stuff where I'm talking about music theory isn't exactly the same thing. I mean, they go together, but you don't necessarily have to know how to read music. Uh, I would dare say that uh, the majority of guitar players don't know how to read music, and that's not any kind of a knock at all. I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking anything like that, because I personally, even with my own students, I tell them I can teach how to read music, but it's almost like a useless skill for guitar, because you'd be pretty hard, try to go find sheet music that isn't tab for guitar. It's like virtually impossible to find. I learned how to read music when I first started, and as far as what I was saying with music theory, I think everybody should learn how to read for counting. If you're looking at the tabs that I gave you right now, so you can see that there's the tablature, but it's also got the music. So when you're looking at the music part of it, you don't have to know what notes those are, but you should be able to identify if it's a quarter note or it's an eighth note or a half note or whatever, and how to count that. And again, it's not super complicated. I don't remember if that was the stuff that I went over in those music theory streams or not. It's been too long ago for me to remember exactly everything I went through. And Dean Crit is correct. That is a talent. If being able to just pick something up from watching or listening or whatever. I mean, there's tons and tons of guitar players that would just, they'd give their pinky toe if they could do that. Uh, and I believe that's something that's like a skill that most people can like learn how to do. But for the people where it just comes natural, where it's just like they can just do, I wasn't one of those people. Uh, I think that's great. It's amazing. I have two stepsons that never had a music lesson in their life, and I gave one of them a guitar and one of them a keyboard for Christmas one year, and within a couple of days they were both playing just by ear. They just very gifted, but they also come from a very, very musical family. That's what I'm saying, Jersey, that there's tabs, there's lots and lots of tabs, but finding musical guitar music that doesn't have tab, that's just the notation, it's next to impossible to find, uh, because it's, everything has just gone to tab. Hello, Adam. You recommend "Through the Fire and the Flames" by Dragon Force? It's a great song for beginners. Oh yeah, totally, totally. I'll be doing that on the second Thursday of next week for the live stream. Uh, yeah. So there's only one part left for this song, and that's the bridge. So when it goes to this bridge, it actually has a key change. So we're going to start off. We've got an F. So what they're doing is a bar chord. So again, if you're struggling, beginner's a bar chord, you could just use the open position, F chord, and you could get by. So we got the F. Now Dragon Force is your favorite band. I I don't dislike them, but it's just not really my thing. I like Herman Lee. I think he's pretty funny. He does some really funny live stream stuff. Uh, and he's a great guitar player. But I don't know. It's funny is that I played in power metal bands, and but it's just I'm not really a huge fan of listening to that kind of music. There are certain bands that I really like from the genre, but for the most part, it's just not really my thing. Creator, yeah, Creator's a great band. I was like way into them like uh, way back in the day when I was like in my heavy like thrash stage in like junior high school. Uh, all right, so for the strum on this part, we've got a quarter note, and then we've got an eighth note. So we've got one, two, one, two, and three, and four. So how like I do it is like down, down, up, down. Then we've got a B flat. So when I said earlier that this part, hardest part if you're a beginner, is difficult part if you're a beginner, but this part too, because it's a bunch of bar chords. But that's just, you know, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, right? So this might be a section of the song that might take you a minute before you can get it or whatever, but it's that same strum. So we got the F, B flat. So for the B flat here, I'm just, you can play it like this, but I feel it's easier to do it this way. I'm just barring the D, G, and B string at the third fret, and then picking up the B flat on the first fret of the A string. And then a C. So we're just going to take this shape and move it up a whole step. So what we've got here, let me double check something, make sure that I'm not, we changed keys here, and we're basically doing a 1-4-5. So we've got F, B flat, and C. Now, I hate that the page cut off where it did. This is stupid. I have to look. Okay, so we've kind of got two endings on this part. So you have to like flip back and forth between page 3 and 4. I really hate that they're this way. When I can't find tabs for a song, I'm usually like, you're screwed. Well, try, really, try how you get to where you can learn songs by ear is just by trying. And it all starts with, it might be you just find one note, and then maybe you find one chord. Now you got two chords. You just kind of have to work your way up that way, because you can't really trust the tabs. There's free tabs all over the internet, and while some of them are really good, some of them aren't. Um, some of them are really bad actually, but there's a lot of them they just have like little mistakes here and there. So you want to kind of develop your ear, because you can use the tab as kind of a way to get started, and then you can go through and kind of figure out what you think is what they're doing that doesn't quite sound right, or you kind of end up with your own rendition or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and say that all the tabs I make are correct, because that would be a lie. I make mistakes more often now than not with doing transcriptions, and for some reason I don't have this skill set to be able to find the mistake until I've actually physically printed it out, and then I go, oh crap, and then I have to do it again, because for some reason my subconscious has a deal going with Hewlett Packard on printer ink or something. All right, so yeah, it's just like that 1-4-5. So we've got two endings on this part. Yeah, Adam. Yeah, again, you got to kind of pick your battles. If you're trying to learn, you're trying to learn like arpeggios from hell by ear or something like that. Not that it can't be done, because it can, but that also, you just kind of have to, you got to be real. What skill level are you at? You can't, start off. It's like, the old saying, you have to learn how to crawl before you can walk, kind of a thing. Uh, I had a friend that was a drum instructor, and he said that all the time there'd be kids that would come in and they would like take a lesson, one lesson, and then at the end of the lesson, they would say, "Hey, do you think we can like learn some Slipknot next week or something like that?" And it's like Joey Jordison, the original drummer for Slipknot, was like absolutely amazing drummer, and it would be, and he could do like crazy double bass stuff, and it's like, dude, you've had one lesson, and all of a sudden you want to be able to play the Heretic Anthem. I mean, it just doesn't it doesn't work that way. Yeah, crit. It just kind of depends on what it is, but sometimes, and I hate making tabs on the fly too, especially if it's like, if it's in front of people and people are watching me, it makes me even go slower. But uh, yeah, so uh, I'm gonna try to finish this. And thank you, Jersey. I appreciate that. Yeah, so we're gonna have that F, B flat, C, and then back to the B flat. Now it's a repeat. So that's our first ending. Go back to the F, B flat, C. I gotta flip the page. It goes to the, we're gonna go to the C, and now it's gonna be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Because that were the nothing forever, forever, go. And then it goes right back into that interlude, slash chorus riff again. So yeah, so that's like all the parts to this song, with the exception of the guitar solo itself. But yeah, that's like all the parts. And like I said, I think it's a really good song because there's lots of like good things in there. You're getting some good technique practice and melody, and it's a good song, and it's really held up over all the time. Yeah, Adam, I agree. With some advice for you as far as that, with stuff with sweep picking, is a lot of players, including me, will end up, there'll be a particular type of arpeggio that they really like. I mean, there's all different ways that you can play an arpeggio, just like there's all different ways you can play a chord. So if you can kind of narrow it down to what style the particular player you are trying to play is like, even if you can find the tabs from like one or two other songs, and you can see the similarities of what kind of voicings are they doing. Are they doing, like 3-note arpeggios like that, or 5-note or 6-note? There's all these different ones that they're doing. So that can kind of help narrow it down to figure them out. And then one of the greatest blessings we've gotten is pull the song up on YouTube and go into the settings and put it down on the slowest speed and figure out each note one at a time that way. All right, Rick. Thanks for being here, man. That really sucks. I feel for you. That was, I told them when they wanted to do this, I was like, okay, one, I won't survive. It's not like I have like a big, like a bunch of savings I can live off of for a year. And then two, if I just couldn't play, that would suck. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do with myself. Oh, great, Adam. Yeah, try it out. I mean that's what I've done. I've figured out things that I thought I had figured out and played it that way for a long time. And then as I got better and my ear got better, I found, oh, I'm not quite doing that right, and have to revise and revise and revise. Uh, that's just part of the musical journey. And it's kind of fun because, you end up really learning a lot of stuff, especially with the stuff with arpeggios. Right, Rick. Yeah, I hope a really fast recovery for you. That's just such a bummer. Yeah, not being able to play that would uh that would bug me. Is it your is it your picking hand or your fretting hand or arm that and does anybody have any questions about that last part of the song or any of the parts of the song? I forgot to say that. Oh, your fretting arm, man. I was gonna say because you could like work on legato stuff, but if you're picking hand, you could you could do like there's lots of like finger picking like exercises. You could just work with that, or you could work with like trying to get like um, hybrid picking things like that. I'm trying to look at the glass half full kind of a thing here, but I completely understand. Oh, you're only going to be in a sling for 6 weeks? That's good. That's good. Got the recovery for like if you have to have like the whole replacement, the whole where they put in like metal parts or whatever. I guess the recovery from that's like over a year or some crazy stuff like that. That's great, Adam. That's great. So you did a whole rotator cuff replacement, Jersey? Yeah, for full recovery. Yeah, I mean it's tough and then like you have to sleep sitting up, like in a lazy boy or whatever. It it's a bummer. And they wanted to try to do my my rotator cuff and my cubital tunnel at the same time, so I'd be completely immobile. And I'm like, the only thing I that my left hand has the ability to do is this. Everything else, it's completely useless. All right. Oh, you just had the repair. Yeah, I was gonna say the whole reconstruction thing, man, where they put the Terminator parts in you and stuff is pretty hardcore, I guess. I guess it'd be the same thing like if you get a hip replacement, knee replacements, things like that. All right. Well, uh, this was great tonight. It was I'd gotten so out of the habit of being here and everything, and this was awesome. I really appreciate everybody who came out tonight. It's good to be back. Um, I'll be here next Wednesday. Uh, Same bat time, same bat channel. And yeah, if you like what I'm doing, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps with me being able to keep this gig. Uh, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. Because I'm on here live every week, and we have videos that are being published throughout the week. Some by me, some by other people. Just like regular YouTube lessons and stuff. Kind of just covering everything from licks to songs to riffs. All different kinds of stuff. So yeah, thank you, Crit. Thank you, Jersey. I really appreciate it. So yeah, thanks for everybody for coming out and hanging with me, on a Wednesday night. And I will see y'all next week. Have a great week, everybody.